Hello guys, it's me Simu Orahara, and in this video I will talk about the Royal Palace. This place used to be one of Bleach's biggest secrets. In fact, I had several thoughts about the Royal Palace before Kobo revealed it. And that's why I wanted to make this video to share with you how I imagined the Royal Palace. So, first of all, when we talk about the Royal Palace, then automatically we are talking about Ryu, the King of the Souls, about the Royal Guards who guard him, and they are the Zero Squad, and about Aizen Sasuke, whose goal since the beginning of the story was to storm the Royal Palace, kill Ryu and sit on the empty throne as he called it. These components that were associated with the Royal Palace made it surrounded by a lot of sanctity within the story as well as within the minds of fans. And Aizen hinted at the existence of the Royal Palace at the end of the Soul Society arc when he spoke that he wanted to ascend at the top of the heavens where he would sit on the empty throne. And this was indicating that the Soul Society is not the highest thing that exists, but there is something above it. And in chapter 223, which is also one of the pivotal chapters in Bleach, the old man Yamamoto in this scene spoke about several important things. He talked about Ryu, the King of the Souls, as well as about the presence of the Royal Palace in a separate dimension from the Soul Society, and about being surrounded by the Royal Guards guarding it. And this was the second time the Zero Squad was mentioned in the story after Rocky is referred to them. The important thing is that the old man Yamamoto also talked about the walking and how it was the only way for anyone to enter the Royal Palace, and thus Aizen wanted to make the Oaken by sacrificing the souls of Karakura town, and that's why all these battles that Aizen Sasuke fought and his relentless pursuit of destroying Karakura and making the key to the Royal Palace, all of these things made this place something everyone wants to see. In that dimension we will see who is Ryu, and we'll see who guarding him, and most importantly, and that's why I thought, the invading of the Royal Palace will make us see how the worlds of Bleach were formed, etc. But by the end of the Arankara arc, it seemed that Aizen's dream of ascending to the Royal Palace would not come true. His defeat by Ichigo made all his grand plans vanish, and thus seeing the Royal Palace postponed for us. Personally, before the beginning of the final arc, I had a different perception from what Kobo proposed later. I thought the Royal Palace is the home of the Soul King, and the Soul King is a true person. I mean, person has his own will, etc. Especially when Rangiku spoke in the same chapter of 223 about the existence of the royal family, and this term stuck in my mind, so that I had the idea that the Royal Palace is another society. In it there is Ryu and the Zero Squad as well as the nobles, and I don't mean any kind of nobles, but some of the nobles of the 5 great families, so that they live in the Royal Palace and they are close to Ryu. I thought Ginryu, Byakuya's grandfather, was there because Kobo never said that he was dead, but he is a retired Shinigami, and therefore I was saying that as long as Kobo did not indicate that he was in the Kuchiki Palace, so maybe he's inside the Royal Palace. And my theory increased when the Zero Squad came to Serity and took with them Byakuya, Rokia and Renji. I said maybe this movement was by Byakuya's grandfather, maybe he's the one who told the Zero Squad to bring them. Of course, the most of my perceptions that I formed about the Royal Palace were not correct, especially about the issue of Byakuya's grandfather. So in chapter 516 was the official appearance of the Zero Squad, and with it information began to follow about the nature of the Royal Palace. Ichigo didn't know exactly where Zero Squad was. He thought Zero Squad and the Soul King were somewhere within the Serity, and so Kyorako explained to him that this is not the case and gave him an example of those walls that protect the Serity. These walls, if you notice, aren't always around the Serity. They are there only in case of emergency, and when they are surrounding the Serity, it looks like they are falling from the sky, as you can see in this scene. Therefore, it seems that they are basically walls that surround the Royal Palace and work to protect it and surround the Serity only in case of emergency. The important thing is that what Kyorako was trying to convey to Ichigo is that the Royal Palace is at the top. And here we come to an important topic, which is if the Royal Palace is at the top. How can we go up and down to it? Frankly, this issue of the mechanism of movement to the Royal Palace is rather strange. The main means of transporting in the Royal Palace is use of the tincturing, and it was used by the members of the Zero Squad to descend from the Royal Palace to Serity. The strange thing here is that this tincturing, it can only be used for landing. As for the return, Zero Squad depends on the Shiba cannon, because as Ichibi said, tincturing can't come back alone. That's why they rely on the Shiba cannon. And by the way, Urahara Kiski said that this cannon is made up in a special way. Shiba clan used their secret techniques to create it. And this may explain why Ichibi went directly to Kakushiba, because we know that the ancestors of the 5 noble families had a direct relationship with Ryo. Therefore, it may have been in the past that the Shiba family was responsible for transporting people to and from the Royal Palace, to the extent that Ichibi, when he came to Kaku, he gave her a complete plan on the mechanism of ascending to the Royal Palace. And at the end of that chapter was the surprise. Kubo finally revealed the Royal Palace. And as you can see, the Royal Palace was distinguished by that cocoon that floats in the middle, and under it are 5 dishes, which are the castles of the members of the Zero Squad. What excited me the most about the shape of the Royal Palace are those houses that are located below. So it's looked like a small town, and those houses frankly go along with my previous idea about the nobles. It would have been great if that was the city of the elite nobles. Anyway, in the next chapter, Ichibi will say important things. He told Ichigo that you should consider yourself lucky to be in this place, because this place is sacred place and no ordinary Shinigami is allowed to set foot in that land. And Ichibi's words matched Ichigo's impression as he was directly contemplating the view of the Royal Palace. Suddenly, he remembered Aizen Sosuke. Aizen Sosuke is the person who wanted the most to enter the Royal Palace. His plan and what he did, he was in order to reach this place by creating the Oken. That's why Ichigo will ask Ichibi, what is the Oken? Which is the key to the Royal Palace. Ichigo did not see any key with the members of the Zero Squad, so how they did it. Here Kobo will show us what Oken means. We all thought it was a real key, but as a matter of fact, the Oken is the bones of the member of the Zero Squad. It's like Ryo changed the bones of the Zero Squad using his power. It's like Ryo put a special ID on the bones of the Zero Squad members, so that only the members of the Zero Squad can enter the Royal Palace. Ichibi said that there are only 2 ways to enter the Royal Palace. 1. The members of the Zero Squad allow you to enter, or to come with them, like what happened with Ichigo. Aizen wanted to create a member of the Zero Squad, and by making him, he would be able to enter the Royal Palace. And this is frankly, I find it strange. How did Aizen want to make a member of Zero Squad? I honestly don't know if this was Kobo's perception when he first talked about the Oken, or he just developed it recently. On the other hand, it seems that there are other characters than the Zero Squad members in the Royal Palace. For example, in Korinji Castle there are these twins, as well as we saw later, we saw that with Chuchara, this team of soldiers, and Nimaya has a city full of females and males Zanpakuto, and I think it's the same thing with Ichibi in Hikofuni. And there are the servants of Ryo. As I always say, there is a big difference between the shape of Ryo in chapter 519 and after chapter 547. In this chapter it appeared that the servants were as if they were communicating with Ryo, and with some one of them was like talking with the Soul King. And later we saw that when Yhwach stormed the Royal Palace, he killed them. And before talking about that, we must talk about another way to descend from the Royal Palace. After Ichigo finished his training at the Royal Palace, the members of the Zero Squad were preparing to send him to Serity again. Ichigo thought he would return again in tincturing, but Korinji said to him this wouldn't happen, because apparently Zero Squad couldn't go down every time to Serity and leave the Royal Palace unprotected. So instead of sending him through tincturing, they decided to send him through this runway that was formed by Chuchara. And here the Zero Squad will make one of the biggest possible mistakes. Why? As Yuhabach said, there are 72 layers of barriers that exist between the royal palace and the Sereji, and in order for Ichigo to cross these layers without any risks, they made this new robe for him. This robe made from the bones and the hair of the member of Zero Squad, which make it oaken in itself, as well as providing Ichigo with the necessary protection as he moved between those 72 layers. However, Ichigo seems to have been working in a mythical Shimpo, to the point that he broke all those barriers. The extraordinary speed with which Ichigo went was enough to smash all those layers, and thus the road separating the royal palace from the Sereji became unprotected, and it would not be secure again until 6000 seconds passed, which is almost 2 days, and that's why Yuhabach took this opportunity and ascended to the royal palace. And this is where the funny thing. Yuhabach used Ichigo twice, used it to ascend to the royal palace, and secondly, he used him to kill the Soul King. On the other hand, it seems that Yuhabach had never visited the royal palace. And here where the things will start to be a little chaotic. Because there were no barriers between the royal palace and the Sereji, Kobo will spend several chapters only to show us how the Shinigami of all ranks were prepared to ascend to the royal palace by making Urahara Kiski made the gate that was going to take them to the royal palace. And before that, Urahara Kiski sent Ichigo, Inoue and Sado and Ganjo to the royal palace through a cannon similar to the Shiba cannon. What I didn't like is how Kobo made everyone, without exception, go to the royal palace. Poor Aizen Sasuke, who was striving to enter the royal palace, All Might entered it without any effort. I wish Kobo had spent more time talking about the royal palace and its history instead of focusing on these details related to how to move to it. The royal palace, after it was overrun by Yuhabach, became like this, which is really a great shape, so that the royal palace became the headquarters of the castle of the real world. But Yuhabach's dreams about that world soon ended with his defeat. The royal palace has returned to its normal form, but without the Soul King. Only the remains of Yuhabach that became inside that cocoon that keeps the worlds in a state of balance. And that state of the royal palace matches with what Aizen said before, a heaven with an empty throne. So guys, this is the end of my video. What do you think about the royal palace? Tell me your ideas in the comments, and see you guys in my next video.